Okay, so my name's Flaxman. I'm ICT Program Delivery Manager at Southend. The last session of this last year, we hadn't started our journey. We'd just gone through a sort of procurement. So I just want to sort of tell you a little bit about what we've been doing over the last year. Just a bit about myself. I think I'm one of those dinosaurs that Suraj sort of mentioned this morning. So I can remember VisiCalc. I can remember the days before sort of spreadsheets were basically generally used around the organisation. So I started working 1980-something in Essex County Council. So I started my life in sort of a county council in their highways department, developing Oracle. It was called ArcInfo GIS at that point. I think it's called ArcGIS sort of now. And that's how I sort of started. I was outsourced sort of as part of an outsourcing exercise for highways and joined a company called Atkins, or WS Atkins as it was then. So I then spent 25 years in the private sector consulting, and I got into program and project management, which is why I'm now the program delivery manager. And I worked for private sector, public sector, local authorities, built up quite a lot of experience over that period. In 2020, I decided I had enough of travelling, because that's what you do as a consultant, and decided I'd like to work for my local authority, Southend-on-Sea City Council, and I'd really, really like to walk to work. Well, it was 2020, and I changed jobs when we were all working at home sort of during COVID, so I didn't achieve that sort of objective. This is all relevant because some of the views that I might express will draw on some of the experience that I've had over that sort of period. So I'm not just telling you about myself, I'm just trying to set the scene. So if you don't know Southend-on-Sea City Council, we are a small unitary authority on the Thames estuary. Population's about 180,000 people, and we provide the whole range of service that you'd expect sort of a unitary authority to provide. So it's everything. Pictures up there are quite relevant. We have 7 miles of seafront. We have the world's longest pleasure pier, and we run a railway train up and down the pier. That's part of the service that sort of we provide at sort of Southend. We have a small fishing harbour. We have some moorings. Moorings are another thing that we've had to contend with sort of as part of our journey. So we tie boats up and we charge for sort of the ability to do that. We have a small international airport, and we have 2 railway sort of stations, both running into sort of London. And that's a big issue for us because actually attracting and retaining staff when we're so close to sort of the city is quite difficult. And again, that's part of the sort of story. It just sets the scenes. And it is beautiful, as you can see. Palm trees, seafront. If you ever want to come to Southend, come and have a look. So, the MySouthend migration to Jadu, the main aim was really to migrate away from our existing platform. The contract was set to expire in July 2024, the July we've just had. We could not extend that any further. We had to get off that platform. It was a key enabler for our transformation, and we wanted to improve the digital services that we were delivering. So we had to migrate from the old platform. It would enable us to deal with some of the issues with stability. It kept breaking. It wasn't the best platform in the world. We didn't like it very much, if I'm honest. It wasn't compliant from an accessibility perspective. We had to do something from that sense. And it lacked the functionality that we needed, that we wanted to sort of develop and build on to sort of deliver the services. And then really through the future phases of the project, which is kind of where we've got to now, we want to start looking at those transformational sort of areas. So this is really about the journey from an old platform to a new platform. It might resonate for some people that are sort of in the room. So just tell you a bit about old MySouthend. It comprised approximately 350 customer-facing forms, which seems an awful lot of forms. And I did have a conversation with our transformation director. Where do you get all of those forms from? We have a lot of forms that are used very, very heavily, and then a long tail of forms that are barely used at all. And I have to say, when we started engaging with the service areas, some of the service areas had forgotten that they'd even got some of these forms. So when we would speak to them, they said, well, I don't remember that. They literally hadn't been using them. So that sort of set a bit of a scene for us. 105 of those forms were integrated to the back office. And there we called out Echo for our waste management. That was linking through to Veolia. Uniform for all our regulatory services. That's the IDOCS, I think it was IDOCS. Simology, which is our highways system. That was mentioned this morning. It was a Simology Insight sort of solution. Civica. And then Haycentric for payments. So we had a payments adapter that we were linking through to as well. Some of those integrations existed in some degree, sort of when we procured Jadu, and some didn't exist at all. So you'd have seen earlier on the sort of the board, and I think, I don't want to sort of share that any further because we might be talking about it later. I'm not going to say very much about it, but some of those integrations didn't exist, so that was part of our journey. We had about 100,000 registered users, but I can't guarantee that number because we know that there was a number of duplicates in that list, and with our old system, we couldn't tell which were duplicates and which weren't. They were just users. So we're really buried deep in the system. And we were processing about 95,000 cases a year, which I think is a bit low, really, but 95,000 cases were sort of coming through the system. It was embedded into the day-to-day running of the services in the council. So the old solution is a solution that our service areas really understood. So there was a business change element that sat behind this. It wasn't just sort of a move to a new technology. And MySouthend was separate from the website. So the website was already built in Jadu Central. We were bringing a product into the Jadu family, so it was absolutely a separate sort of piece. It appeared as a website all of its own, and that came with its own little challenges. So that's sort of what we're moving from. I don't think it says it anywhere else in the slide deck, but we kind of really struggled. How do you do this? Is it a gradual migration from old to new, or is it a big bang? The problem with the gradual migration is that customers or residents potentially have two accounts to use the system. They have the old account and the new account, and that's really uncomfortable, and we didn't want to do that. So we did make a decision that this was going to be a big bang. It was quite scary, actually. Now, I'm a project manager, so I'm going to apologise. Look, it's a bar chart, it's a bit of a schedule, but I think it's important. And there's a few things that I just want to highlight sort of here. So what's that say? Second quarter 2023, these are financial years. So we obviously had to write a business case. We had to deal with the financial aspects of it. What did that take? About sort of 4 months, 5 months, a fairly sort of lengthy cycle. Then we got into procurement. Again, procurement in local authorities. And going back to sort of, I started in Essex County Council, moved out, came back. God, it's hard work. Buying anything sort of within the local authority is a real sort of labour. And you can see how long that took. We got through the business case, we got through sort of procurement, and then I've got a block in there which is recruit team. And again, sort of mentioned the railway lines going into London. I tried to recruit a project manager. I had 2 project managers start with us. We let both of them go. It's a really, really difficult market to get good quality people in to lead this kind of change. Wasted that much time, I did it myself, and that's not the way to sort of do this stuff, but I had to take it on and deliver it. So recruiting the team was really difficult. You can see training sat in about August last year. So going through all of that sort of pain of business case, procurement, we were training the team, and we've got a small team at Southend. We've got 3 forms developers, essentially. One of our forms developers, bless her, she had a heart attack over the period, so clearly this was quite a difficult schedule to sort of imagine. But she came back to work and sort of helped us sort of through the thing. We also sort of augmented the team with others, but it was a small team. And remember that number? 350 forms. And people kept talking about lift and shift. We couldn't lift and shift. We had to lift and rebuild because the forms in the old system were different to the forms in the new, so everything had to be built from scratch. Then we've got our chunk of an MVP forms workflow and integration development. So that's the bit that actually does the development sort of piece. And we focused on an MVP. So again, I said 350 forms right at the beginning. There was no way we were going to sort of rebuild 350 forms and the integrations associated with them and build them sort of and deliver them sort of on time. So we focused on the sort of those that are highly used. We got that to about 135 forms that we think delivered about 98% of all the transactions that went through old MySouthend. There's a long tail of forms that are just not used very regularly, and that was a sort of a big lesson for us. We might have a long list of forms, but they're not all sort of super relevant. I put the little fire on there. We had the advantage to some extent of having a burning platform. Projects in local authorities do tend to drift. We found that. They tend to drift in the private sector, to be honest, but they do tend to drift. The burning platform meant that we had to be off that solution by the end of July. Otherwise, there would be no solution for residents to engage with us. That's a big pressure, and I know that the team were pretty overwhelmed when they saw the schedule, saw the volume of work that we needed to do. I think Jadu were a little bit overwhelmed as well, given the amount of work that needed to be done for integrations. Because some of these integrations, remember, didn't exist. So we were building some of this stuff from scratch over that period. But yeah, so end of July, we got old contract expired. Then we've got some non-MVP forms to build going forward, and then phase 2 is the bit that we really, really want to get to, because that's the transformational piece. All we've done to this point is lifted and moved into the new platform. But that was the schedule, and it was a real challenge. And quite how we were going to do it when we came to this event last year, we weren't too sure, but the outcomes. So, despite numerous challenges and a surprise general election, so originally we were going to go live on the 1st of June. We didn't make it, so we built some contingency and they were able to slide it back. So we said, okay, we'll go on the 2nd of July. We need a little bit of time between sort of go live and the old contract sort of expiring. And then, bless them, they said we're going to have a general election on the 4th of July. So we then went back to the change sort of board and said, look, are you okay with this? Because we're going to be releasing a new website, new forms sort of 2nd of July. Usually there's a change freeze over that period. Usually we're not allowed to do anything, but we had to sort of accept that. So just a sort of a few sort of stats. On day 1, we had 600 registrations. We had 200 cases raised. I suppose that just says the system worked. And we had people sort of engaging with us, which was pretty cool. We're quite happy with that. Actually, sort of to end of September, we're greater than 19,000 sort of registrations and about 24,500 cases coming through the system for our MVP forms, which is broadly on target with what we would expect, 100,000 or so sort of transactions sort of over a year. Look at that, no major issues raised, aside from some challenges configuring address searches. And I'll come back to addressing in a minute because that's been a bit of a thorn in our side, but the addressing sort of challenge came up. And as we stand here, the system continues to perform well. So we're really happy with it, really happy with the support that we had. I will call Gemma out from Jadu. She was brilliant. She's the project manager that sat on the Jadu side. She's just helped us all the way through this. And I've called her out sort of a number of times, but she's been brilliant. The team were knackered. Sort of after that, they were exhausted just to deliver that sort of volume of change, which is the little picture sort of at the top. But very, very soon after sort of going live, we did start getting compliments. We always get complaints in the council, but we got some compliments, basically saying how good the system was, how nice it was. And one of the benefits we've got is that really, really clean sort of transition between the website and the forms and the sort of transactional pieces. You don't see the join now, it's all one system. So we really sort of like that, and some other benefits too. So a few issues. So it wasn't sort of all amazing, and we've got a few things that we need to sort of deal with. So payments, and we are, this is a big, so I think we, just over the first couple of months, we looked at about £400,000 worth of payments coming through sort of MySouthend, so quite significant, we need to get it right. But we do struggle with actually integration into the back office, and VAT has become a challenge for some of the services that we're running, and it's difficult to break the transactions into VAT parts or elements and just the basic product part. Certificates is a challenge, particularly where postage is involved, but we need to work through that one. Address searching, I'm tight, okay, so I don't like spending money where I don't need to spend money, and one of the ways of doing address searching is to buy a service which just lets you sort of search for addresses across the whole of the UK. I think it was about £12,000 a year, not a huge amount. But hell, we got access to all of the addresses in the country through the Ordnance Survey. We've got ArcGIS, which gives us a link through to that. Still hellish difficult to get all of those addresses into one place and do the searches. And we're talking to Esri sort of about how we can perhaps just tap into the Ordnance Survey API directly. You guys might have other ideas as to how we can do this, but it's been a real challenge sort of for us, and it's something we're working on. Third bullet, suppliers will tell you that they have an API for that. Fabulous. They don't all work the same. They all behave differently. Just to authenticate to different APIs sort of requires different steps and different technology. Some will poll for things, some won't poll for things. We've found all of that out through the integrations that we've built, and I know that sort of we work quite closely with Jadu on that, and been very, very open, saying, it doesn't poll, we've got to build this polling engine in the back office. How do you want costs starting to sort of creep up? So wouldn't it be great if there's just a standard way of dealing with APIs or working with APIs so we know exactly how that transaction is going to sort of work for us? Because it's not standard as far as I'm concerned. I don't know whether this is an issue just for us or with everybody. Our chief executive, when we sort of launched MySouthend, said, hey, everybody, register yourself on MySouthend with your southend.gov.uk sort of emails and just raise those cases. And we had confusion because we didn't know whether they were sort of on the service side or the customer side coming in. But there has to be something there where we can actually use the tool to raise cases directly. So when I've seen a pothole or I've fallen down it, I can go, yeah, I can do that. And I can raise it through MySouthend, through the tool, and it just goes through the process as usual. It may be that we don't know what the solution is, and it may be out there sort of for us, and maybe others have sort of solved it, but certainly it's a problem that we've encountered. But yeah, thanks to the CEO for just dropping us with that one. Changing back office systems and processes. So these are always change, and we've kind of established sort of our integrations into back office systems, and then they want to change it, they want to upgrade it. So we've called out Simology sort of insight sort of earlier. Simology are upgrading and bringing in a new tool. It's called Simology Aurora or something like that. I think it's Aurora. What's that going to do to the integration that we've just spent weeks and weeks sort of building? We've got to sort of look at that and rebuild it and sort of reapply it. It gives us some opportunities to do some better stuff, and there's some real opportunities sort of in that space, but it just continues to change. And then making time for phase 2. So I said we've got a small team, just 3 people in the sort of dev team, plus some others that sort of work in and around sort of our integrated systems. We've become victims of our own success. So we've generated a backlog of things that people wanted to do whilst we've been building the new system. We've got a backlog of things because people really like what we've built and they want some more of it. And then we've got a backlog of stuff that we want to do because this was all the transformational stuff that we set out to do before we sort of just did the migration. So there's a huge, long list of things that sit in our backlog sort of right now that we need to sort of work through. And talking about how we can enhance the team, maybe bring more people to sort of bear, but we need to sort of address that. It's good. It's a good problem to have, I suppose. So what's next? So completion of our phase 1. We talked about an MVP, 135 forms. We've got the rest of them to complete. And we need to find time to do that. I didn't know licensing was such a big thing in local authorities, but boy, there's a lot of licensing forms that we have to contend with, and some of them are barely used. We have one zoo in Southend, and we have a form that's on the website for our one zoo. We have 2 cooling towers that require sort of licensing. We have a form for 2 cooling towers that are renewed every 3 years. Honestly, we need to sort of reduce some of sort of that. So yeah, there's some work to be done there. Just in terms of our phase 2, we've called out, and it's a bit of an awkward title, making best use of MySouthend Jadu tools. We've got a load of stuff now that we didn't have before. So we've got a CRM, we've got a case management system. We can gain insight from the cases that are coming sort of from that. We can build reporting. There's a load of things that we can do just against the sort of the product that we've deployed that we want to sort of start sort of pushing forward. Payments, we've just started a study on payments. There's so many payments coming into the local authority, different engines, different platforms, some of it through Jadu. We really need to get to grips with that. Member case management, so we need to get the councillors on board and linked up with cases that are coming through. Highways, loads of scope. We've got a new product, the new Simology system, so we can do some work there. Enforcements, memberships, yada, yada, yada. Quite a long list of things that we want to go around and improve. And just to make life even more interesting, the council have just let a new waste contract. So again, we've built our nice, shiny sort of integration to Echo for Veolia, and guess what? We've got a new waste contractor sort of coming on board sort of next year. Fortunately, they use Echo, same product, so we can enhance that integration, but man, it keeps changing. We've got a new parking contract, so Paul Johnson built the most beautiful set of forms for parking, and we deployed them, and now we've got sort of a new parking contractor to work with. So quite how that's going to work, we're not sure yet. We've always got system upgrades and key back office systems to change, and this continual demand for new stuff. You know, victims of our own success. So it's a bit of a snapshot sort of for the year and the life at Southend deploying sort of Jadu. It's been an interesting year, it's been challenging. Great to get good feedback. We've had some complaints, but you always get complaints in the council. That's just sort of a fact of life. But I think we're in a good place, and I think we're in a good place to start that sort of now transformation journey, picking up some of the things that we've discussed today, AI, all of that good stuff. But we've got a sort of a firm platform sort of to build on. And I think that's the Southend story.